Then the arterial supply of the nasal cavity. So first the arterial supply to that the nasal septum. So it is supplied by the septal branch of anterior ethmoidal artery, which is the branch of ophthalmic artery. Second one, that is the posterior septal branch of posterior ethmoidal artery. Then the third one, the septal branch of the spinopalatine artery. So this one. Then the fourth is the septal branch of the greater palatine artery. So this one. And the last is the septal branch of the superior labial artery, which is the branch of facial artery. So this is the blood supply to that the nasal septum. Then the blood supply to the lateral wall. So here that is the blood supply to that the lateral wall. So it should be divided into that the various part, that is the antero superior quadrant, the antero inferior quadrant, then the posterior superior quadrant and the posterior inferior quadrant. So the antero superior quadrant, it is supplied by the anterior ethmoidal artery. So this one, which is the branch of ophthalmic artery. Then antero inferior quadrant, it is supplied by the branches of the facial artery and the greater palatine artery. So this one. Then the posterior superior part, so it is supplied by the spinopalatine artery, which is the branch of maxillary artery, and the posterior inferior area or the quadrant, it is supplied by the branches of greater palatine artery, which is pierced by the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone. So in this way, that is the blood supply or the arterial supply to that the lateral wall of the nose. Then the venous drainage, the veins draining to that the nasal cavity forms the plexus beneath the mucosa and the general accompany the arteries. The veins of the nasal cavity drain into the facial vein, pterygoid venous plexus and the pharyngeal venous plexus. The lymphatic drainage of the nasal cavity. So the lymph from the anterior half of the nasal cavity, both medial and the lateral wall, is drained into the submandibular lymph nodes, and from the posterior half of the nasal cavity, including both medial and lateral wall, drain into the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. Then the nerve supply to that the nasal cavity. So the nasal cavity, it is supplied by the olfactory nerves, which carry the senses of the smell. So here you can see that is the branches of the olfactory nerve, which carry the senses of the smell from olfactory region to that the nasal cavity. Then the nerves for the general sensation, that is the anterior ethmoidal nerve, then the branch of the spinopalatine ganglion, this one, and the branches of the infraorbital nerve, this one. So these are the nerve supply. They carry the sensation of the touch, temperature, pain from the respiratory region and the vestibule of the nasal cavity. Then the autonomic nerves, that is the both parasympathetic and sympathetic fibers supplying the nasal cavity, are derived from the Vidian's nerve, that is the nerve of the pterygoid canal, through the pterygopalatine ganglion. The parasympathetic fiber supply the nasal gland and control the nasal secretion, and the sympathetic fiber on stimulation causes the vasoconstriction. After then, let's see that is the paranasal sinuses. So the paranasal sinuses, these are the air filled spaces present within some bones around that the nasal cavity, this one. So they are frontal, maxillary. Here you can see this is the frontal sinus, these are the maxillary sinus, then the sphenoidal sinus, orange color here you can see, and these are the multiple sinus, that is the ethmoidal sinus. So this one. So all these open into that the nasal cavity through that the lateral wall of the nose, and it keeps main function of these sinuses, that is they keep the skull lighter and add the resonance of the voice. So in the lateral view you can see that is the maxillary sinus, this is the sphenoidal sinus, this is the ethmoidal sinus, and this is the frontal sinus. So these sinuses are rudimentary or absent at the birth, but enlarge rapidly age of 6 to 7 years and the puberty. This one. The sinuses are 4 in numbers. That is the frontal sinus. These are present into that the frontal bone. The ethmoidal sinus. These are present into that the ethmoidal bone. The maxillary sinus, it should be present into that the maxilla, and the sphenoidal sinus present into that the sphenoidal sinus. The paranasal sinuses, they are arranged in a pairs, except that is the ethmoidal air sinuses, which are arranged into that the 3 groups, that is the anterior, middle and the posterior ethmoidal sinuses. So let's see the detail of the sinuses. So first, that is the frontal sinuses. So it lies in the frontal bone deep to the superciliary arch. So it extends upwards above to the medial end of the eyebrow and backwards to the medial part of the roof of the orbit. Then it opens into the middle meatus of nose at the anterior end of the hiatus semilunaris, either through the infundibulum or through the frontonasal duct. The right and the left sinuses, so both are generally unequal in size. So their average height, width and the antero-posterior depth are 2.5 centimeter. So these are better developed in males than the female. The arterial supply of these frontal sinuses, that is the supraorbital artery, and the nerve supply to that the frontal sinuses, that is the supraorbital nerve. Then the maxillary sinuses. So these two, that is the maxillary sinuses. So it lies in the bone body of the maxilla, and it is the largest of all paranasal sinuses. So it is pyramidal in shape, so you can see here, and its base is directed medially towards the lateral wall of the nose. So this one, that is the base. Its apex is directed laterally. So this one, that is the apex in zygomatic process of the maxilla. So it should be open in the middle meatus of the nose in the lower part of the hiatus semilunaris. The size of the sinus are averagely near about 3.5 centimeter in height, 2.5 centimeter in breadth. The roof, this one, that is the roof, it is formed by the floor of the orbit and travels by the inferolateral nerve. The floor is formed by the alveolar process of the maxilla. The floor is marked by the several conical elevation produced by the root of the upper molar and the premolar teeth. So it is the first paranasal sinuses to develop. Then the arterial supply of the maxillary sinus, that is the facial artery, infraorbital and the greater palatine artery. Then the nerves, that is the infraorbital nerve, and the lymph related or the lymphatic drainage, that is the submandibular lymph nodes. Then the sphenoidal sinuses. So this one, orange color, that is the sphenoidal sinuses. So these are right and the left sphenoidal sinuses lies within the bone of the sphenoid bone. So they are separated by the septum, and these are also unequal in size. Each sinuses are open into that the sphenoidal recess of corresponding half of the nasal cavity. Then each sinuses is related superiorly to the optic chiasma and hypophysis cerebri, and laterally it is related to the internal carotid artery and the cavernous sinus. Then the arterial supply of the sphenoidal sinus, that is the posterior ethmoidal and internal carotid artery. Then the nerve supply, it is posterior ethmoidal nerve, and the lymphatic drainage, that is the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. After then, let's see that is the ethmoidal sinuses. Then the ethmoidal sinuses. So these are the numerous small intercommunicating space. So here in this diagram you can see that is the numerous small ethmoidal sinuses. They are intercommunicating spaces which lie within the labyrinth of the ethmoidal bone. They are compiled from above by the orbital plate of the frontal bone, and from behind by the sphenoidal conchae and the orbital process of the palatine bone. The sinuses are divided into the anterior, middle and the posterior group. So here, that is, this is the anterior, this is the middle and this is the posterior. So let's see first the anterior ethmoidal sinuses. They are made up of 1 to 11 air cells, and it opens into the anterior part of the hiatus semilunaris. Then it is supplied by the anterior ethmoidal nerve and the vessels, and is lymphatic drain into the submandibular lymph nodes. Then that is the middle ethmoidal sinus. So the middle ethmoidal sinuses are 1 to 7 in numbers, and it should be open into that the middle meatus of the nodes. It is supplied by the posterior ethmoidal nerve and the vessel, and the lymphatic drain into the submandibular lymph nodes. And last one, that is the posterior ethmoidal sinuses. So these two. So it consists of 1 to 7 air cells which open the superior meatus of the nodes, and it is supplied by the posterior ethmoidal nerve and the vessel, and the lymphatic drain into that the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. Then the clinical or the applied anatomy. So first clinical point, that is the epistaxis. So epistaxis means that is the bleeding from the nose. So you know, on the lower side there is the respiratory mucosa is present, and that consists of the huge network of the blood vessels. So if any injury occurs to that the lower part of the nose, or due to that the heat, that is the wall of the blood vessel, they are burst, and throughout this, that is the bleeding or the fresh blood that should be comes out throughout that the nostril. So it is called the epistaxis. Then the next clinical point, that is the DNS, deviated nasal septum. So here you can see that is the nasal septum, it is straight in size, but that is due to that the deviation here, that is the one part, or that is the nasal cavity, it should be turned on the right side. So patient can occur continuously rhinorrhea and difficulty in the respiration. Then the sinusitis. So the because of the infection into that the sinuses, it should be occurs the inflammation into that the sinuses. So this called the sinusitis. Then the frontal sinusitis, it should be occurs or produce the brain abscess. Then the next clinical point, that is the rhinitis or the common cold. So due to that the viral infection, that is the mucous membrane which is present into that the nasal cavity, it should be hyperstimulated and it secrete or stimulated the mucus gland to secrete its secretion. So the mucus secretion from the nasal mucosa, it should be increases, and that is called the rhinitis or the common cold. So these are the maxillary sinus, and the maxillary sinusitis, it is the commonest of the sinusitis. Then next to it, that is the relations of the nose with the anterior cranial fossa through the cribriform plate. So here in this diagram you can see that is this is the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, and throughout this, that is the olfactory nerve and its fiber, they should be enters into that the nasal cavity. So that is the anterior cranial fossa, which is related through the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone and the lacrimal apparatus through the nasolacrimal duct. So these are the important spread of the infection into that the anterior cranial fossa. Then the infection of sinus, it is known as that is the sinusitis, and it causes the headache and the persistent thick purulent discharge from the nose, and the diagnosis is assisted by the transillumination and the radiography. So a diseased sinus, it should be seen as a opaque shadow into that the radiograph. So the maxillary sinus, it is commonly infected, and this infection may be occurs due to that the nasal cavity or through that is the dental caries. So it can be drained throughout that is the maxillary antrum. So that is the needle should be passing out throughout the inferior meatus into that the maxillary antrum, and the fluid, it should be drained. Then the adenoids or the enlarged nasopharyngeal tonsil. So here it should be present the nasopharyngeal tonsil. In the nasopharynx can be examined by the posterior rhinoscopy. Adenoids causes the mouth breathing, nasal obstruction, and even the blockage of the pharyngotympanic tube. Then next to it, that is the trigeminal neuralgia. So the trigeminal neuralgia affecting its maxillary branch produces the symptoms in the area of its distribution, and the nerve can be anesthetized at the foramen of the rotundum. Then next to it, the fracture of the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone with tearing of the meninges may tear the olfactory nerve rootlets, and in such cases, that is the CSF may be drip out from the nasal cavity. So here you can see, and this passing out the CSF from the nasal cavity, it is called the CSF rhinorrhea. Then the pain of the maxillary sinusitis, it may be refer to the upper teeth and the infraorbital skin, as all these are supplied by the maxillary nerve. Then the fracture of the nasal bone, it is very much common because it is the most projectile part of the skull, and it is commonly occur due to that the external injury. So the little's area, so it is an area in the anteroinferior part of the nasal septum, just above to that the vestibule. So here you can see vestibule, and just above to that the vestibule into that the nasal septum. It is highly vascular because here the many branches of the vessel, that is the ethmoidal, spinopalatine, greater palatine, and the superior labial arteries anastomosis to form the vascular plexus, and this area of the nasal septum, it is commonest site of the epistaxis, means that is from the nose bleeding in the children and young adult, usually due to that the finger nails of trauma. Carcinoma of the maxillary sinus. So it arises from the mucous lining of the maxillary sinus, and the sign symptoms are as follows. That is when the upward invasion into that the orbit displaces the eyeball, causes the proptosis. Proptosis means that is the protrusion of the eyeball, and the diplopia. So here that is upper side the orbits are present, where that is the eyeball is present. Then the downward invasion here in this side, it can occurs the palatal root, ulceration of the palatal root of the oral cavity. Then the medial invasion, it can causes the obstruction and the epistaxis. Then the lateral invasion, it produce the swelling on the face and the palpable mass in the gingivo-labial fold. Then the backward invasion or the posterior invasion may involve the palatine nerves and leading to the severe refer pain to that the upper teeth. Then next to it, that is the sphenoidal sinusitis. Then the ethmoidal sinusitis. So here you can see that is the ethmoidal sinuses. So this is the coronal section of the nasal cavity. So it is often associated with the infection of the other sinuses, and the pain is localized over the bridge of the nose medial to that the eye. Then the sphenoidal sinusitis. So the isolated sphenoidal sinusitis, it is rare and it is usually a part of the parasinusitis or associated with the infection of the posterior ethmoidal sinus. So the infection of the sphenoidal ear sinuses spreading upwards may affect the pituitary gland and the optic chiasma, as it should be related with that the sphenoidal sinuses. So these are the clinical points related with the ear.